Welcome to Lightworkers Secret to Success. We're so happy you're here for our Monday day interview. Today, we have the pleasure of interviewing Sarah Strong, and we actually met online, as I do with most of my friends. And she's a beautiful being, and I asked if we could interview her today. So just a little bit about Sarah. She's an intuitive life coach, a medium, empath, and she also is a psychic, and she can channel ascended masters, and so that's her superpower. And so one of the things is she likes to channel these ascended masters during her sessions with people while she's coaching people, and just connecting people with their soul gifts and their soul talents. And so I'm sure I've left so much out, but I really want to hear from Sarah and see what she's up to. I know you have a book coming out, and you have some really great new classes coming, and I think I can't remember what else you told me that was going on. So we'll give you the open air, and you can tell us all about what you're up to.
Thank you, Amanda. That's awesome. Yeah, you got a lot of stuff in there, but there's a lot to know. So not to blow my own trumpet, but let me go and blow my own trumpet.
Yeah, do it.
So the newest thing. Well, I just launched a website. I didn't launch it yet. I've just started creating my website today as well. So that'll be probably a couple of weeks turnaround. I'll be publishing that, and the book is definitely nearly on its way into publishing as well. That's called Live Wild, Live Free. So that is my newest. That's what I'm going to be basing like a big group program around. Like, a lot of light workers suffer from addictions and overwhelm in society, and especially, I mean, most light workers are empathic, and they have these extrasensory gifts and perceptions of the world. So I'm creating this container so that they can come in, feel safe. It's an alternative, uplifting like sphere of energy they can come into, and the book is really supportive of that. So the book is like, I wrote it down today, is like you can put it in your sparkle box so you can have 24-hour soul support. It's a book that's probably maximum 25 pages long. I don't even know yet because the pages haven't been numbered, but that's with page design at the moment. So it's a book that's really supportive to like aligning your life to what makes you happy and what really like sets your soul on fire. So having a regular meditation plan, put like every day, if there's things that align you, like books and things that you have a practice of reading spiritual books or journaling or things like that. And there's a whole bunch, there's a lot of my story in there as well, like where I've come from, how I got here. I have had my own struggles with addiction and have come through those with, obviously, you can't really help people where you haven't had the experience before. So I've had the experience, and I'm writing in my book my story. I'm writing in, I'm really exposing that, I get a lot, oh, you're probably always happy. So people look at me, they see me online, they see me on Facebook, they see me in other areas online, and they're like, oh, they just assume immediately I must be always happy. And that is it's just not true. I've spent the better part of the last 8 years like figuring out all the things that really like bugged me and really fucked with my head in order to be able to have a remedy for those on a daily basis. So even down to this afternoon, right, like I got to a place where I hit a brick wall, and I just had to sleep. Like my body started to shut down. I couldn't hold my eyes open. Now, in the past, I would have analyzed that as being something extremely wrong with me, having like hitting a brick wall and not being able to like function anymore in the afternoon of a normal day. I would have just judged myself. I would have thought, what's wrong with me? I would have gone through this whole negative mind spiral down into what am I doing? Like, I must be doing something wrong. Whereas now I have this perspective is that, yes, I'm an empath, I'm a light worker, and there gets to points in a day, my heart chakra is starting to activate. It's crazy, going really hot now. So it gets to a time in a day that I just can't take any, like, I was on the computer, I was building my website, I was writing copy, I was just like doing lots and lots of stuff. And I went straight in. And so to come out, it's just like having this new perspective of knowing I have to stop. And when now that I'm in tune with the physical body, it teaches me how to handle a day. So that book kind of goes really, really deep into, and it's a fun way. I write like I talk, I curse in there, and like it's like having a conversation with me, except you just don't have to listen to my voice. Yay!
Unless they know your voice, then they can, hear your voice talking.
Yeah, exactly. That happened to the first couple of people that read it. They were like, oh, I could just hear you like talking, I could hear your voice. And yes, so that's really exciting. That's going to be a group program. I haven't got all the details ironed out for that, but I'll channel those through at some point when everything comes together with that. And besides that, do you have some questions? I just don't want to just rabbit on.
We love listening to you, and we're just so excited to hear what you are, what you're up to, because I know you have created. You're like a master creator, and so you're always creating. You're always playing with energy, and one of your favorite places to be, I know, is by the water and by the beach. And so, do you feel like you get your most inspiration by the water?
Oh, that's a nice question. Yes. So there's a little story popping to mind. I had dreams for a long, long time of having my living space feng shuied. So in Australia, I hired a professional feng shui master to come into my home, and they don't just do your home, they do like a reading for you, and they do, they do the placements of everything in your home and colors and everything like that. So I had this lady come in, and she did my Chinese chart, and she did feng shui in my flat. So what I learned in that moment is that in my Chinese chart, I'm all wood and metal, like all of my makeup is wood and metal. So the element of water is like essential for me to have outside of me, because I have nothing in my chart. So actually it's not even a basis of inspiration, it's an actual requirement for me. So I lived in London for 14 years, and I was not close to any water. There were some nice parks and things, but it's just not water. And then I moved down near the Thames, and my whole life started to flow again. It's like it creates a flow for me. So yes, it absolutely feeds into the inspiration for everything that I create. And I'm living in Key West at the moment. I'm just about to move to Sedona, which is landlocked, and I was I very deliberately like looked on a map. I'm like, okay, where's my water?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So things that do, obviously I can have like waterfalls and lots of different water features, but yes, nature in general absolutely fuels my soul. Like this morning I was by the ocean watching the sunrise, which was intuitive because the time's changed and I've gone all wonky. I feel a bit wonky with the time change, and so that watching the sunrise absolutely like helps to reset me. But yeah, absolutely being by the water is something that actually you're inspiring me. Actually, I might go sit one day and write by the water. I haven't done that for a very
Well, that's what I kind of like envision you doing. Like when I think about Sarah, I'm like, she's probably by the water writing, because I know you love to be in the water. You love to kind of meditate that way. And so
I'm going to do that. I'm going to automatic write by the water. That is beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody have questions for Sarah?
Sarah, I'm really interested about channeling. How did you ever start it? How did you come about it? How does it work? How do you channel? Because I understand that channeling can be like a learned process. It's not like a gift that everyone has. There's actually schools that teach it. So I'm just kind of curious on how you stumbled upon it, how you do it. What's the techniques that are behind it?
Thank you. That's a beautiful, really beautiful question. And so to answer the first part of a question, when I first started, I was 4 years old when I first started channeling. And Jesus Christ is very close to, I'm part of his bloodline. So I first channeled Jesus Christ as a kid because I was actually born into a Christian home. And I mean, he was really the biggest energy in my life externally anyway, which I didn't really know that I was channeling him, but I always spoke like really full on truth, which wasn't always great. Didn't always like work out that well. But yeah, so I started channeling when I was 4. It was a natural gift for me. I didn't learn it. I brought it in like intentionally from my past lives as starseed. So I wanted to be activated immediately when I came to this planet this time. And like growing up and moving forward, I would say how I honed the skill and made it more intentional and more a stronger channel is I started my meditation practice in 2001/2. So been meditating now for like 19 to 20 years. And I believe that that is one of the most important things to have a clear channel of your own energy system. So like for me, it's like clearing out the mental chatter. I'll know more clearly what is my own inner thoughts and my own higher self, and then the channel. So it's more easily defined when there's quiet in there. Get hit of some energy, I have the difference of the energy. So even if I'm on a phone call with maybe a potential client or someone just needing some help, I know when it's their guidance coming through because it's a presence like sits beside me. I feel a presence beside me. I get visions of beings around me. Someone's loved one can come in. I'm also a medium, so I can channel also beings who were once here and are on the other side. And so, yeah, so meditation is essential for that. And then also, I feel that exercise is also like a key component of being in touch with your physical body, because it's like if there's stagnant energy in the body, it's very difficult to have an open channel of energy that is definable and recognizable as something else. So physical movement and exercise, dancing or running or walking or anything that is like moves the body in a cardiovascular way, I feel is really, it really helps me, it keeps my channel open. It keeps the energy moving in my body. And it also keeps the information have a lot of clarity in the information, I feel.
So when you are channeling, is it just thoughts or words, or like how do you know what's being said? Like I guess is my question.
Mm-hmm. So okay, so I intentionally open channels. So tonight before the call, I sit in meditation. I ask all of my guides to come through. I have a gamut of soul guides and spirit guides and ascended master. I ask them all to be present. So I have intentionally opened a channel with them for the purpose of I'm here to be in service to all beings. So they know that. That's why there's quite a lot of them. I've heard from my own sessions with my coach how many of them are actually present, because they know that I'm here to help them and to sorry, that was funny. They know that I'm here as a portal for their message. So I open that channel, and when so how do I know? That's such a good question. Really, I don't know. To be perfectly honest, I don't really know. I just know that I have the intentionality for their wisdom and their energy to come through, so that when I open my mouth, their messages go through, rather than Sarah's ideas or Sarah's, wisdom. I mean, I believe that I have wisdom of my own as well. I just know that if I've intentionally opened a channel, they will just speak using my words, use my personality. I mean, probably they don't curse as much as I do, but too bad, because they've chosen me who, I just can't help myself. But yeah, so Yeah, you know what, I get visions as well. I get visions of, I actually see, like even now I just looked up and looked, I can kind of look up, I can look into other dimensions. So they're of the fifth dimension and above and beyond, like way beyond the fifth as well. So I see that. I actually sense that it's like a tube of energy. So I can see it and sense that. It's an awesome question. Like you've really got me going on that, because I want to know, you know, like it's questions that I haven't asked myself, because I guess I take it for granted that I'm just a channel. So yeah, I get visions. I absolutely feel energy. So like I said before, that my heart chakra was starting to open. They activate me so that the information can be more pure and more of like pure light, so that the message isn't getting ego busted by me. So yeah, there's all sorts of different ways of knowing. There's all sorts of different ways that I know, but do you know, like the essence of it is just knowingness. I just know. I absolutely just know unequivocally that the channel is open. Like right now, when I say that my sacrum starts to activate. So they're like, yes, say that, you know, that everyone's like, yes, speak it out, sister, you know, like, because at the end of the day, it really is just, it's just pure energy. It's just pure energy that is allowed to come through with a definition of through speech.
Yeah, because and I don't want to jeopardize everyone else, but there was a movie that I was watching. I think it's called First Contact, and it's about a guy who claims he's channeling an alien, and I can't remember the alien's name now, but and he went to school, like a class, to learn how to channel, and this alien came through and wanted to start talking to him. Now he's been going on stages for well over 40 years now, and he goes through this channel, and his eyes are always closed. He doesn't always remember what he's saying, but you know, it's always recorded, so he can go back and listen to it. And so it's just interesting that, you know, my question is, I think I understand how to do it, but there's a difference of, you know, knowing, like you can tell someone how to ski, but until you actually start to do it and you start to go down that steep hill, there's a complete difference of, you know, knowing the right amount of pressure to put on certain edges, and, you know, how to do certain things at certain times. And that's the technique of channeling, and that's what I'm most interested in. So definitely gave me some insights. I know when I'm in meditation, I get all these pictures and visions of like high-speed trains going from London or from LA to New York in 15 minutes. And I don't know where I get that. I get visions of med beds long before I even heard about them. And I didn't even know what it was, right? And so I probably haven't been trusting myself or listening enough in silence. And so it helps a lot to understand sort of the process of what other people are going through.
So just in response to that, that's you're receiving visions of actuality. You're receiving visions of the Akashic records, basically. So where where all information exists. So you're literally going from, say your body's in the third dimension here, you're drifting up into other dimensional energies, and like tuning into information that's already been created and actualized in other dimensions. That it's like a movie, it's like a picture that you're seeing. So just to witness and validate that, literally obviously you know this, but everything exists only in this moment. So everything that it was going to exist and it ever did exist exists right now. So it's just about tuning into the frequency of the dimension that it already is actualized. So that's what you're tuning into in your meditative state. And it's like it's a practice. It's just a practice of understanding that it's real, of allowing yourself, like, because the conscious mind just wants to go, oh, you didn't see that, you didn't hear that, you don't know that. So because the human psyche and the collective consciousness really is not driven towards self-realization. It's driven towards like giving all your power and control over to your parents, your media, or the school, or anywhere but yourself. It's like, so what the human, like the collective consciousness is now erring towards is, and then what we have to do to create more of it is to practice the opposite. So I actually am doing an epic empath course at the moment, and I got a huge message from my coach that I am discounting things that I see, hear, know, and sense. And literally, I've been practicing, like just trusting. So the other day, I heard the kettle go off before, like minutes before it actually went off. I'm like, I heard that. I know I heard that. That definitely happened. And then I, all of these other things, little things in a day, like I'll see something move that's not there. And I'll be like, I saw that and I know that's there. So it's like a practice of, because like now that you've spoken about this and you've like made it conscious, you'll see more, you'll hear more, you'll know more, more things will start to come into your meditation. And it's like, instead of letting the conscious and ego mind discount what it is and what's arisen, it's like recognize it, like celebrate yourself in that moment, bring it into the conscious awareness and say, yes, I saw that. I know that my human brain, my, like the ego mind wants to discount it because it's been taught to discount magic and your true soul gifts. And so it's just a practice of like, just like continuing to reassure yourself and reassure your spirit. Yes, we're seeing that. Yes, let's go. Let's develop practice. So it's just a rather than not trusting. It's not really about not trusting. It's really about the collective conscious conditioning body that hasn't supported, all of these magical soul gifts from the start. They've been discounted rather than, so it's just like, just practice, like knowing that
Cool. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sarah. Pamela's internet is a little spotty, so she had a question. She wanted to know, who would you say is the most surprising master or being that you've channeled?
Most surprising?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so the first one that comes up is the first guy is Paramahansa Yogananda. So he's a very magical being in my life, and I found out about his book, which is the Autobiography of a Yogi, which is an amazing read. It's really truly enlightening and enlightened book. So I was reading, there's another book called The Crystal Masters 333. So they're saying for anyone in this group to read these books, because you have a higher awareness already, and these books the Crystal Masters 333 will initiate your energy to start working with the Ascended Masters as well. So they're saying absolutely to get these books, read them if you're drawn to. So, obviously we all have free will. If it's not your jam, that's totally cool. They're saying that you can if you would like to. So I read the Crystal Masters 333, and it has every master in there, from Mother Mary, Jesus Christ, Lao Tzu, Buddha, Lady Master Nada. There's probably some here that you don't know and you don't recognize, but they're all there. Saint Germain, literally, like there's so many in there. I haven't even finished the book actually. And so Paramahansa Yogananda was in that book. And so what happened, I don't know if I'm totally answering your question just yet, but bear with me. I'll get there. So I got up to his chapter and I started reading his chapter, and I had his autobiography and I hadn't read it yet. So I went back and I read his whole book before I read the initiation into his energy. And so I'm reading this book, and the book is got so many references to Jesus, to the Bible, to scripture, to all of these what I would have deemed as Christian references, but what they deemed as like spiritual references. And they taught me about Jesus. They taught me so much about his real life and what he was really about. So when I started connecting with his energy field and started to really tune into his energy field, he started to change me and reconnect me with Jesus, because I had discounted my connection with him for reasons like my mum and, you know, having the Bible shoved down my throat and crap like that, that I really, you know, I disassociated for painful reasons from Jesus's energy field. So reading his book and then being reconnected to this beautiful energy, of Christ's energy through him. And then and then after I read it, I kept his book on my bedside table because it's got a beautiful picture of him, and I really loved just looking at him. And he would talk to me through the book. So he looked at me one day, and I'd always be doing my yoga practice. Funny, because he brought yoga to the West, so I'd always be doing my yoga practice looking directly at his picture. And one day he said, "You're one of us." And I thought that I was like, at the time I wasn't as awake as I am now, and I was just like, oh, I thought, am I part of the lineage? I didn't know, but energetically he told me that I was one of them, part of their lineage. So that like really touched me, and I had an awakening from that information. So he started to wake me up in this really divine way, just from like connecting with his energy. And then so slowly he starts to he's, you know, he's one of my true masters in this life. Like, he's one of the energies inside of me that definitely is always with me. Definitely he's just like he's just cheering on. He's always just cheering me on. He's always just like, yeah, just cheering me on, you know. So he's always there. His energy is always there. And then later on, so there's a whole lineage. They're a very, very divine lineage in India. And the first of their lineage is I believe it's the only enlightened master at the beginning of a lineage in India. So his name is Babaji. And then there's Lahiri Mahasaya. And then the next one is Sri Yukteswar. And then it's Paramahansa Yogananda. So on my journeys in the last probably 8 or 9 months, the wisdom came through that I was Sri Yukteswar in a past life. So I was actually his teacher in a past life. So that was like mind-blowing, you know, to know that, like, my whole system starts to open up, my heart chakra, my throat, like everything starts to heat up, you know, as I say this, because I've never said this information publicly before, you know. So they're like, yes, get it out there. But yeah, so that was like learning about that and tuning into those energies, because obviously, like right now, I can feel the whole lineage I can feel all the way up to Babaji. I can feel all of their energy fields, and Jesus, obviously. So my reawakening to Jesus energy was after reading that book. Then I had a friend's mother pass away, and I had this huge vision of the angels. They were all like, they were dancing, and there was all just this beautiful golden vision, and they were playing trumpets, and it was just like magical. And I was like to my friend, I'm like, you know, your mum was a really special lady, because obviously heaven doesn't just rejoice for just anyone like that. And then later on that day, I was laying on my bed, and I just thought in my mind, I thought, that was you, wasn't it, Jesus? I mean, like the whole vision. I didn't even know really what I was saying, but really now it's like he gave me the vision, he gave me the connection to the energy, he gave me the ability to be able to see that much. And literally I lived in an apartment, and I looked through the window and I said, it was you, wasn't it, Jesus? And a light went on in the apartment building behind me as a yeah. So as I felt, it was yes. And then I felt his whole presence in my room, like I couldn't see it, but it was like it was palpable. I could feel his presence in my room. And I was less laying on my bed. I cried, and I just knew in that moment that I was just like, that he was back, and he was back with me, traveling with me again. And yeah, so that was very, very mind-blowing. And then I just had this like really beautiful reconnection to his energy. And of late, I found out that I'm part of his bloodline. It came out in one of my sessions. My coach got a vision of my blood and his, and they showed it in the same molecules, basically. So that was a spin out as well. So yeah, I would say those two. Jesus and Paramahansa are probably the most interesting, because they're with me all the time. So I get little like it's so funny, because I just get little bits of information like all the time, and sometimes I don't listen. Like, it's crazy, right? I mean, I'm human, but I have such divine masters like always with me, and still sometimes I don't listen. But when I do, it's really magical.
It's kind of I think about like the people that are around us all the time, and how we may not tap in or listen to them, but they're there waiting for us to like tap into them and ask questions. And I get little downloads all the time, and I'm always like messaging everybody like, can you double check this for me, just to kind of see that I'm not like crazy, because I'm like, is that even possible? Like, it's just like we call it like the light bulb moment. We're like, oh, that's interesting. So it gets really exciting. Colette, did you have any questions for Sarah?
Yeah. So you've been channeling since you were little, like 4 years old. That's pretty young. Did it ever scare you? Like, were you ever frightened of your gifts, or did people kind of brush you off if you told people? So just your experience as a light worker here on this planet, I'm just curious what that was like for you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a beautiful question. So yes, and yes, and yes. So I was born into a Pentecostal Christian home, and I'd be walking around like my church and hearing people's minds. So that part, like the telepathic part, was just like, yeah, I don't really want to know you people. I would hear perfection meant to be seen, not heard, and like there was a few people that I would not speak to based on the fact that I knew what they were thinking of me. And so yes, I absolutely like it. I mean, I don't believe that I was that scared of them. Like I was pretty aware. I was pretty like determined little kid, and very outspoken. I mean, I believe I was probably, I've got a little dog here, sorry, he's going. So yeah, I was a very, very outspoken child. So basically people like absolutely got the truth from me. And that, as I said before, it wasn't always well received, but yeah. So, and I could see auras. I'm having this like reawakening from being able to see auras. And I remember like as a kid, I could see auras, and I believe this is a memory that I'm working on at the moment, but I believe that I could see auras, and that I told my mum that I could see colors around people, and that she shamed me and scolded me so badly that I just like turned it off completely. So I actually was like, did some sun gazing this morning, and I when you stare at the sun, I know that you see like a red haze. Like I saw the sun's aura today, and then if you focus like straight right on the sun, I saw the red aura, and then I saw this huge aura around the sun. And so I'm like, cool. And then I'm just reading about how to practice reading people's auras again to start like reawakening. But yeah, it's pretty traumatic being a kid and being able to like know things that I just shouldn't know at that age. I was always into psychology because I could read people's minds, and it just fascinated me how like fucked up everyone was. Like how nuts everyone was, how in their head everyone was. Like everyone's in their head. I was just like, no one was having any fun, like, and I came here, like, I'm a total fun factory. I came here, like, I spent half of my childhood just looking at the stars, and then half of it climbing trees and like running naked on the beach. Like I was just like, like, get me out of here, like just get me into some fun. And and then obviously just went into a life of trying to just shut it all down, because I got very shut down as a child. So it was a tough journey. It really was tough. And the thing is that now I am so grateful for all of it, because now I know that a lot of people go through the same thing. A lot of light workers also, empaths attract narcissistic men, like, because we have a lot of energy and they're like energy suckers. And, so there's just like so many synchronicities between who I'm here to help and make the experience that I've gone through. So it's like, it was very traumatic, and there was things that, you know, in the moment I you know, I really didn't think it would end. And then now I you know, in the grand scheme of life, I get to help all these people because my experience was so tough. You know, if and I've had a lot of issues with my mum for the fact that obviously she, you know, she didn't encourage my sparkle. It was very threatening to her. I was really smart, and I was like, at ages that I just would know things. The funniest thing though, she would try and hide the chocolate biscuits everywhere in the whole house, and literally, I spoke to her as an adult about this, and I literally would find them every single place that she would hide them. And I told her later, she's like, I couldn't figure it out. I would hide them everywhere. You'd find them every single time. And I'm like, yeah, Mum, I'm psychic, and I was psychic as a kid as well. So, you know, that was a funny thing. But yeah. So yeah, it was, thanks. That was a great question. Thank you.
As you're talking, it reminds me of when I was younger, and I would you know, I guess when you're little, you're like, am I psychic? Do I just, you know, like you start thinking those things, and people do just count. But when I was really, really young, I could feel when like family members were going to die or something bad was going to happen. And I would get these urges. I call them urges, but they're more like messages saying like, you know, you need to say this, you need to say that. And I would fight with whoever it was that was coming through. And I'd be like, no, I'm not saying that. And they're just like, yes, you have to. And I'm just like, no, but I was the person that had to give in that message. And so I still, at this point, I just say this creator because I don't know who that person is for me. I mean, I just assume it's God or, you know, giving me the messages, divine messages. But I knew the day my grandma was going to pass away. I knew the day her sister was going to pass away. I had a dream about her other sister passing away. And I guess I'm just probably really, really connected to all of them. But being little, like 8 years old, 11 years old, when I lost them, I felt like because I thought it, that it was my fault. Like, oh my gosh, I thought it and it happened. So I would always like, oh my gosh, I don't want to like, oh no, I can't think that because, so I think back then I probably turned it off when I was around 11 because my grandma died and she was the closest person to me. And then her sister passed away 3 years prior to her death. And I knew I was in the bathroom at my aunt's house, my grandma's sister, her youngest sister. And I was having a fight with God in the bathroom and I didn't want to leave. I locked myself in there and they're like, you have to go tell her not to have the surgery. And I'm like, she was having open heart surgery. And I was like, no, I have to, no, I'm not telling her. I'm like 8 years old. I can't, she's not going to listen to me. And he was like, no, you have to tell her, she cannot have the surgery because if she does, she's going to die. And I was just like, oh, like all that pressure on a little 8-year-old. I was like, oh my gosh. So I was in there forever. Everybody was like knocking on the door, like, we need in there. We need to use the bathroom. There's like a ton of kids there because we're having like a little party, like a little get together before her surgery. So I went over there. She's like at the table and I was like sweating profusely. I had to tell her this message. And I was like, you know, I'm like tapping her like, hi, you know, like, oh gosh. And I was like rubbing her back and I was like, don't have the surgery. And she's like, oh, it's okay. It's okay. I'm going to be fine. I'm like, no, don't have the surgery. And she was just like, no, it's fine. I'm going to be fine. And then I was just like, okay. And then I was like, but what if you die? And she was just like, I'm not going to die. And I'm like, oh, like it was such a relief, right? I was like, okay, she's not going to die. Well, then she had the surgery and my one aunt was with her and my grandma was with us. And so we were at home waiting for the phone call and my aunt called and said, oh, she made it. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. I was like total relief. And I was like, oh, because I was like so nervous. Like I was like extremely nervous. 30 minutes later, because we're eating dinner and we get this phone call 30 minutes later. It was like, she didn't make it. And I was just like, oh my gosh, it's because I thought it. It was because I thought it. That's why she didn't make it. Mm-hmm. And so anyways, that was just like one instance as to when I was younger. And I think I turned a lot of that off. Yeah. I think we all do kind of, you know, as kids, if we don't really know how to incorporate that into our daily lives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For sure, it's really common, and also to compartmentalize memories as well, like so lock memory locking. Mm-hmm. So like probably I would say like a very large percentage of my childhood I also memory locked because it was very traumatic. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't loving. I didn't have a loving upbringing. So based on the fact that I chose, this was something else that wanted to come through earlier, that so in order to, so we get these, I got my experience because I chose my mother to be the villain. Like at a soul level, my mum volunteered to be the villain in this lifetime so that I would have credit, like street cred, to help people. Because if I had a perfect life, then there's no credibility in how I got where I got, and therefore the gifts that I am here to like give. So, you know, so in everything. So like even like something so like full on as like knowing your grandma's going to die if she has a surgery, and then telling her and her not listening, you know, so that whole sequence of events was all meant to happen. And your guidance at a soul level, they knew that she wasn't going to listen. They knew she was going to die because it already happened for them, because it doesn't exist for them. But for us, it's just having this certain experience so that whenever that something comes up, it enables us to have an experience of that exact situation to help someone else. That's how I've literally been able to change the perspective of literally all the most intense memories and most in situations that I've had. So is there more questions?
Anybody have any more questions? We could talk all night because it's so fascinating, and I mean, I love sharing stories too.
Yeah, I could talk to Sarah all night easily.
I know. I love it. I love it so much. Oh, well, now's a good time to stop. It's 4:44 Pacific Standard Time, so perfect angel magic number. And Sarah, we are just so blessed to have you with us tonight. We're so thankful, and we love all your stories. And if you can get us some of your information, we can put it into the information on this YouTube, so that people can know how to find you, like your new website. And it doesn't have to be right now. You can just get it to me when you know, when it's all done and created, and then we could put it in there so people that are watching this in the future can go back and look you up.
Awesome. And I'll publish that in the next few weeks, probably 2 to 3.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, thank you so much. And I just want to thank our viewers for watching. And don't forget to see us Friday for our collective healing, and then our oracle card reading with Pamela and I on Friday evening. So we just thank you, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.